pushing saying howdy. No problem. I can see everybody. It's like romper room. I can say hello. How's everything going? So if you got a chance, say hi in the chat. We're always looking at the chat. Oh, nice. All right. So for those of you guys who are away and know we're around, I see in the bottom corner that we're under a tornado watch in effect.
Yeah, me too. So up here, I've got a bunch of my coworkers in Madison. They got some massive hail about an hour ago.
Okay. It's a bummer, Dean. They canceled. No one else can hear you, but they canceled.
They can hear me.
They canceled my 2 shows this year up in Green Bay.
Yeah, that whole Art Street, yuck.
So I just found out that my shows were canceled.
Yep. That's not fun at all.
Is that something to lay over from that big event you had up there? Or?
They moved it a couple of years ago, and it just isn't quite the same as it was before. So it has to do with that. I think it's the new location. They aren't getting what they wanted out of it, I think. So they're trying to replan. So they pushed it out 1 year.
And did they so yeah, one of the things that we lost was that they switched out to the other one, but I think someone said that there was another show down in the downtown area and that took over for us.
There is another show in the downtown area, and I think it was based on the city, and I think they bumped him. I think they got kicked out. I don't think it was that they wanted to leave. I think it was I'm not sure. There was rumors that says they got kicked out. Somebody else wanted to do that instead, and they took it over. Hi, Bill.
I do see Bill from St. Louis. Nice to see you, Bill. Yeah, if you guys don't ask questions, we're just going to talk about you guys. So I would ask questions. Do you have the remote or the mouse for that one?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if I can get that. Can you get that?
Go up a little bit.
Or can you get that bottom thing to drop away?
Like this?
Yeah.
Probably.
Right click on it. Or can I drive? Taskbar settings. And then do task view off maybe. Just leave it, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. I'm afraid if I touch something, I may do something we don't want us to do.
That would be bad.
Yes, exactly.
The other one that worries me is with those storms coming in. This could end quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. If you hear Van Halen playing Humans Beings in the background, that's the movie Twister. For those of you who don't know. So, anybody have any questions?
Anybody here?
Comments?
Anybody here? I'm watching now. Yeah, what do we have? We can talk about.
The Cubs play the Sox starting tomorrow.
Oh, ooh, the Cubs are in first place too, aren't they?
Absolutely nobody cares about either one.
Hi, Bill.
All of the people who are coming, or who are here right now, anybody going to the AAW?
Ryan.
Yeah, I think we're one down. We can't see Ryan's. So the cat's car is covering up.
Yeah, it would be nice if that was up a little higher. No, just be nice if the whole screen was up a little higher, but I don't know how to make that happen.
Tab other.
One thing we could do probably is change the magnification. Try
No.
Control minus would do it. Oh, I see what you're, okay, that's a thought. But you lost your chat completely. It's like that way.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. No, there's not a fast one.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Hello, Ryan.
Now see, I got these connected to my book right away.
Right there.
So
Nothing interesting back here. Look at that.
You guys are all nice and fancy in your exotic shirts. I went with the casual. I went with this guy.
You got plenty of color.
Nice. All right. Dean, I won't tell you how much Ed pays me to wear these shirts. So it's an endorsement deal. I have to say, I only buy from Exotic Blanks twice a week.
That sounds about kind of like the thing. So I think some of you have heard, I talked about Ray Kinman, and he's a carver for Disney. And there's a couple of things he's not allowed to say certain things. So he'll be with a picture of him posed by something, and he goes, I can't confirm or deny anything about this carving, but it's always fun.
Yeah, as I said, that was the guy that I bought all that stuff from. Oh, it was 20 years ago.
Yep.
This thing will come through there.
Nobody's asking questions.
Yeah, everybody knows everything today.
We got 17 more minutes.
We do. We had 12 watching, only 3 have said hi. I guess 4, because TBC said hi before we even started.
How do you do that?
How do you do what?
Say hi before we started.
Because the chat's available as soon as I publish the thing, so people could have started talking in chat back on Saturday, Sunday already.
Really?
Sure,
That's
chat's there.
interesting.
Hey,
That's something maybe we want to tell them in the email on Sunday. And if you want to, you can get there early and ask questions and so forth, and we'll answer them when we get there.
So Scroller Bill says, hey Ed, last week I turned one of your, man, I can't see the rest of it.
it's fishing pole kits with the blank from the, I don't know what, I think it went short. He ran out or something. PP.
Turned one of the fishing pole kits.
Fishing pole kits have done pretty well. A lot of people have turned the fishing pole kit. Be interesting to find out what you're doing with it once it's turned. Are you actually fishing with it? I think it's possible.
Fat fingers. Penn Smiths. He used a blank from Penn Smiths at MPG, and he sent it to England to his brother-in-law.
Cool.
Long distance.
Cool.
Well, and if he wanted to, he could send the Penn Smiths to England too. I'm pretty sure they'd be happy to go. Okay, so you guys want to hear a funny stuff? I assume you Scroller Bill, you met him at the you met the Penn Smiths over there at the
MPG.
MPG. Oh, he got married to his That was his wife in the booth with him. Literally 1 week beforehand, they went on their honeymoon just to get back in time for the MPG.
I thought the MPG was their honeymoon.
It's my honeymoon. James has always been good. James is always the first. He prides himself in literally when we send out the notice that if we're looking for vendors, he's always the first to reply back that he's in.
They do very well, but they also have very nice looking stuff.
Oh, they're
They
fantastic.
really do a fine job, and they've been making pen blanks now for 5 or 6 years. Remember when they started? They were in high school.
Yeah, well, they were in Ohio when it was back in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think the first year they were just at a little table in Ohio. The last year in Ohio, I think was the first year that they were there.
Okay.
And it was just a little table. So I agree with you. It's been 5 or 6 years only. It's gone from. Please don't take it the wrong way. It was good when it was there, and they pride themselves in very well done blanks.
That's interesting with some of the guys that have been around for a long time and started very young.
Yeah.
There are a handful of people that you see that you knew when they were in high school. So,
Well, the guy that they were next to, Greg is had just started turning a little light,
okay.
and now he's retired and is not retired. He was very young, but he stopped making blanks now. He moved out to Florida with his family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we had one that was a partner with us a long time ago, Pomo.
Alexander.
Alexander Pomolewski, I think is the last name. So really long, but he was a student, and then he was in the military in the meantime, and just recently he started contacting us again, buying stuff to make pens, and he's in the West Coast somewhere now. But again, started making them years ago, very young, and then went through the rest of his life with getting into the military and so forth, and then coming out of the military and now going back to turning. Speaking of the military, we also had a guy. This is kind of interesting. We had a guy that came in here to the shop in Racine several days ago, an older gentleman, not as old as me, but an older gentleman. And he said that he wanted some information on turning pens. And of course, that's what I'm here for. So we talked for a little while, and after a while, he said, "Well, I've been turned on to this from my son." And I said, "Well, that's cool. And my son is in the military." "Okay, well, actually, he's in the Navy." "All right." He said, "Well," I said, "where is he stationed?" He said, "In the Red Sea. There is an aircraft carrier in the Red Sea where one of the guys who are in command buys stuff from us regularly." And it turns out that this gentleman that came in, his son was going to the classes that this guy was handling on the, I believe it's it wasn't the Enterprise, the Eisenhower. He's been buying from us for probably 2-3 years. And I knew that was in that theater, but he is, every time he buys from us, I send him about 30 or 40 of the fun-sized bags of M&Ms and tell him, "Here, give them to the rest of the guys in your unit." But it was kind of funny to me that suddenly the guy comes walking in here, and it's he's the father of one of the people that's learning over there. So yeah, it's a small world, as they say.
So we're still open for the next 10 minutes answering any questions anybody has.
It's interesting because you talk about, I think the Truman is in the Red Sea right now because there's been that whole talk about they accidentally lost 2 F-18s off the deck at 2 different points.
No, I didn't. We haven't known anything about that ship yet. It's interesting. From time to time, we get orders, and it will of course be an APO.
Yeah.
And typically when that happens, I try to put something on the order form, the thank you form, that will let them know that obviously we support them, and also get a conversation started. And it has worked pretty well with most of the guys that are stationed on the ships. They tend to be pretty easy to get into conversations and ask a lot of questions that go back and forth on the receipts. They don't email. They just get information on the receipts. So
That's cool.
yeah, it is cool. It lets you feel a little bit closer to them. Feel like you're doing something they'll enjoy. One thing about it, nobody's ever turned down peanut M&Ms. Well, that's not true.
There's a few.
None of the military guys have ever turned down peanut M&Ms. I think it is. Because the other things.
17 people. Come on, say hi, people. At least pop in the chat. Say hi. Tell us where you're from. Who's here? Ask
Hi,
questions.
Hi,
Yeah.
Dean. I'm from Wisconsin right now.
You're not from Wisconsin.
Right
You're from that south of the border place like the Pope is.
But I'm not a White Sox fan. I'm a Cubs fan.
This is a year to be a Cubs fan so far. He reaches into the abyss and comes out with a bowl.
So you know, obviously, Dean, I just consider Wisconsin Illinois' largest state park. So you guys are just a big state park to us.
Nice.
As people come in now, just to mess with them, I should just sit here and move my mouth.
Yeah.
And just have them go, what's wrong with them?
Sounds not working. Sounds not.
Don't do that to me.
Trouble is, we'll think it's not working.
Yay. Hi, George from Union Grove. And Bill's got a question.
Okay, so Ed, Bill asks, could you guys talk a little bit about your C-Series kits and how they are interchangeable?
Thanks, Bill. Yes, I can talk about it for hours and hours. Typically,
Do you want to stand it?
oh, sure, I will. I'm sorry. First we got to get back there.
My board is here.
Yeah, well, the trick is, you see, there we go. Okay, things to look up. I don't think I'm going to trip and fall on the way in. Okay, the C-Series, essentially kind of brought about by John Underhill. As most of you know, John typically takes the pen component sets, and he will dream up ways of interchanging them from one to the next and things that can be altered. Most of the time that requires some effort because, for example, if you want to change a center band, the center bands are made to be pretty tight on the conventional pens. And the reason for that is apparently so that you don't lose them, and I can understand that. But if you're into trying to customize your pen, that's what the C stands for. The customization allows you to take any of the pieces and any of the center band pieces and change them with any one of the other C-Series, or in fact, the Diamond Neural also will cross with it. So if you want to change something over to give yourself a little different look, you can do that. In fact, there is on the existing, the ones I've already made, the C series, there is one accent piece in the center. For example, chrome and tie gold. There's a little ring of tie gold in the middle and two rings of chrome, one top, one bottom. If you want to, there is also that same arrangement with, there will be black tie. I don't think it's out yet. But you could then take that black tie and the gold and put both of them into the center if you wanted to. There is not a restriction on the amount of width you could create in that center band. Because obviously when you assemble everything together, that's all the last stuff that's on the end of your cap piece. So it may make the cap piece a little bit longer, but that's okay. You don't care if it's a little bit longer. When you're dealing with pens, understand that you have the length of your refill is a constant. And so when you're bringing up additional, how am I going to modify a pen? Understand that the length of the refill has to stay the same. So your overall length from the beginning of the tip of the nib to the back of the body has to be relatively the same all the time. Now, not exactly the same because there is a spring. The spring will give you some plus or minus this or that amount of additional size. So all this is a very long way of saying this pen is designed so that you can customize it so that it will look exactly the way you want it to. If you take the Bandit, for example, which has got the center band that's stainless steel and has a trough in it, that also is the same size as the C series. Now, all this means that you can take an awful lot of this stuff and interchange it from one pen to another. And that's what I'm aiming for. I'm looking for ways that you can make that pen specific to you. So that if you're at a craft show, I used to do craft shows, as most of you know, and I had pens in my booth, the junior series. There was another exhibitor in the same shows who also used the junior series. And the fact is that there really wasn't a lot of difference between his pretty wood pens and my mostly plastic pens. The guts were different, the tops were different, but the actual center band, finial, etc., all look the same between the two, let's say, vendors. So I looked for ways to try to make my pen look different. And in that group at that time, it wasn't easy to do that. There wasn't much you could do, and I don't have the great imagination. If Tony had done it, it would have been a lot better.
Actually, I just took a note of it, if it's okay.
Sure.
I just took a note. That might actually be kind of one of the fun Thursday night things that we can do.
Sure.
Is take a look at pick any series out there, a junior we'll call it, and try to come up with all the different ways we can modify it.
Well, we want John here for that.
Yes.
Essentially, that's where it started. John and Mark and I talk a lot, especially Mark. But we really do have a good time with each other. And as a result of that, I learn a lot from these two guys. They're out there every day actually making pens. And I'm sitting back here remembering what it's like all years ago. So we try to find out what they're looking for, what things we can do to make it easier for them. And that's how the C series came to be.
So it looks like we hit 6 o'clock.
We had 6 o'clock.
So,
Who's helping you to make it?
Tina, we're all ready to go, right?
You're all set.
So I assume you want to, let's switch positions here because you're going to do the beginning.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I can hear the tornado coming in right
We're getting the high winds. Clearly, Mark is here. The high winds are starting. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to do an event, if you want to call it that, tonight. That's kind of we looked for topics and started talking about the fact that we're coming up to Memorial Day. And of course, in Memorial Day, you certainly want to recognize many veterans. There's an amazing number of guys who are customers of ours that we have learned are also military vets, some retired life, some guys have just served, many of them during the Vietnam era, which is when I was eligible and thankfully did not have to go. But generally speaking, we have a lot of friends who are military. A lot of the people I went to college with are military, retired. So we wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that and kind of talk a little bit about what products do we have that might be beneficial to you during the time of year when we're thinking about the military. And stretch that a little bit to police and so forth, but predominantly we're looking at things that you might think about with military friends. So that's the beginning of what brought this about. And then as we talked about it, we said, well, it's also kind of the beginning of summer season and picnic season and so forth. So we're also going to talk a little bit about the summer and the things that you may want to make for outdoors during the summer. One of the other things we want to kind of acknowledge in the military aspect, we don't talk about it a lot. Exotics doesn't talk a lot about any of the things that we do that are quote charity unquote. But every year we donate at least 1,000 pen sets to Turn for the Troops, and every year Mark does several Turn for the Troops events in the Chicagoland area.
The MPG alone collected over 200.
Okay.
And my Chicago clubs, not that I do it,
Mhm.
I donate with my Chicago clubs, and I know my Chicago clubs, I'm gonna get donate close to 500.
Okay. So yeah, we're out there trying to do something for the military folks, and it's rewarding to us, but it's also something that we want to make remind people about. In general, it costs you nothing to partake in one of the Turn for Troops events, and in general, it does generate a lot of pens that make their way out to the guys that are in the field. So that's the plan for what we're trying to do today.
Well, I see Kevin says that he's retired Navy, so thank you for your service, Kevin.
And your picture on IAP is in uniform, I believe. So yes. So yes, thank you all. And with that, where should we go from here?
So start with the pens. So I think in fairness, what we said we were going to do is kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea of if you're looking to make something special for that someone special, or even for yourself. We've got a series of pens and component sets that we wanted to talk about, give you a little bit of an idea of some of the things that you can do, some of the things that can be done.
Okay. Why don't we start off over here? Oh boy. These are yours, so why don't you tell them a little bit about how that's done?
So you want to flip to the other camera?
Oh, think so?
Let's see. So this one's a John Underhill blank, and I love this one. This is on his Opal material, and I started doing this, and then John and I were John did his, and did it and took it to a new extreme. So this is the Marine Corps walking medallion. So it's a legitimate walking medallion that was cast on one of John's opals. I think I like it. I like it a lot. I will tell you that just this from a practical standpoint, this is on a full Majestic series. You got to put it on something that's got a little bit more heft. And so that one's a great one for doing it on something that's a little bit bigger.
At the risk of sounding stupid, what is a walking medallion?
So walking medallion, if you look at this real close, and I'll pull it up here on the camera, can you see that there's a nail hole in there?
Mm-hmm.
Right there, and a nail hole on the other side.
Okay.
So this is a commercially available medallion that people use for like hitchhiking. It's not hitchhiking, hiking.
Okay.
And so if you've got a hiking stick, you'll typically, I think these are actually called hiking medallions. And if you've got a hiking stick, you'll take that, you'll put it around there, and you'll nail it to your hiking stick. It's just a, it's
If
just
you
a,
wanted to purchase those, where do you find them? On eBay?
I get all those right off Amazon.
Okay,
Amazon has most of all the walking medallions on here.
okay. I learned something.
There you go. This one is the same thing, but this one's for Navy. And you can see here what we did was we put it on a Navy camouflage at the time. So I found the Navy camouflage and I did it on Navy camouflage. This one was one of my favorites. This was one of the first ones I ever did. And this one actually is, one of these is in the NP, not the IAP collection is one of these. This one is another Marine Corps one. I'll tell you, John's opals are just the way to do it. But this one is on a Marine camouflage. Any questions on any of this stuff?
No real questions yet, guys. They're complaining a little bit about echo and sound, so I don't know which camera you've got the mic on for, but let's make sure to try and talk a little slow today if possible. And I'm going to see if there's anything I can do from my side too.
We can switch it. You want to switch
You
it
want
to
to, try camera 2? We're at camera 1 now, which is farther away from us. You want to try camera 2 sound and see if that works?
Let's
Yeah.
do that because they're saying it's a bit echoey and a little hollow sounding. So
Does this sound better? Okay, well, we'll see if anybody complains about it, but this is the one that's right next to us. So
all right, start with continue with that, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the commentary says.
so part of me is just dying to do an echo. But I'm not. All right, so this one is one of John's, and I love this blank. This is one of John's. It's on a his opals, and this is actually an Army button, and you can see it was scroll sawed out. And so you can see the whole pattern on there. You can see the Army button on there. It is scroll sawed out. And then the nice thing is, because it's a little bit smaller of a piece and a little bit smaller of a medallion, you can get away with putting this one on the junior series.
Many of these blanks are things that John makes and makes them available at Exotic Blanks. But I will tell you that it's not something that you see real often, and the reason you don't see it real often is because those are indeed buttons from uniforms, and so when he's trying to find them, it isn't the easiest thing in the world to find. In fact, it's one of the more difficult things to find.
Yeah, and so David asks that, did I say that those are available on Amazon? The last I looked, the walking medallions, that you just look up walking medallion on Amazon. The blanks are not. The blanks are through John and through here. But the actual walking medallions, if you want to do your own casting, you can pick them up at, I was able to pick mine up on Amazon.
But this is particularly an interesting one to me because it looks like this is turned and then the casting is done over the top of it. Or is it?
No,
it's
it's
just camera.
Yeah, it's just a
label?
it's a label cast.
Okay.
And which is a great segment for what we were just talking about. If you were in the demo last month, or you want to look it up on YouTube, this is a label cast. This is exactly the way I did the label cast last month, where I just printed it out on my printer. And if you look real close there, you can actually see the seam.
Mm-hmm.
But I pride myself in making it harder to see the seam on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gives you an idea. If you want to know how I do the casting on any of this, on any of these, just go back and review the YouTube from last month. Which leads us to this one. This one, probably I know, is probably one of the more popular component sets that you guys have. It's the bullet component set. And you can see here, this is the rifle component set with the bullet on there. The bolt, it's called Bolt Action. And once again, if you followed the demo last month, we did casting. And John did the casting part of it, and I did a whole series on how to make an image or a label cast. So this is a label cast for a friend of mine who is in the sheriff's department up in Brown County, up around Dean up there, I believe. And so it's in Brown County, and so I was able to use a image of the badge and of his badge, and it says Brown County, Wisconsin on it. And then on the bottom, I put his name and Brown County, and I just basically did exactly what we did last time, what we did last month. And we're trying to tie in stuff that we did last month with the stuff that we do here. So this way, this gives you a complete component set with something that's completely customized. So does everybody make sense on that one?
This is the other take on bullet sorts of pens that's pretty popular. The one Mark was talking about is the bolt action from Penn State, and this is the lever action from Berea. Again, it's a pen that's been pretty popular. You use the lever itself as a click mechanism that makes it extend and retract. So yeah, if you're looking for things that are unique and you're looking for things that might be military related, that could be used for that. The other thing is this one has a button as well. You don't have to have two-part pens and fancy things if you don't want to put a whole lot of cost into it. They can be put on Sierras as well. So that's basically the military background. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, so the other thing that we were going to talk a little bit about is some of the other blanks that you can get. So if you're not interested in doing something completely custom and you want to do something, for a friend or a family member, you can also pick out these. So these are one of John's, and we're not trying to just talk about exotic blank products. We just want to give you an idea what these are. But these are some of John's, and these are the bolt action and the service stripes. So that one's the Iraq service stripe. This one's the Vietnam service stripe. And so there are service stripes that you can pick up. These are basically done for the bolt action component set. And once again, sorry, I'm trying to read the comments as we're going along. Once again, you can pick them up right here and then make something very nice. So Dina says that they're still having a hard time hearing us. Do you want us to switch to the one that we have or go back to the other one that we had?
Personally, I think the one you're on right now is probably better. But at this point, I don't know. It sounds okay to me, but then again, like I said, I think we're better off with the second one than the one you were first.
Okay. So sorry, David, if there's anything I can do, maybe I'll talk slower. I'll be a little bit more articulate on it. But so these are just another way of incorporating the whole military concept into it. And then there's a whole bunch of commercial things that you can do. That's all you got.
Mm-hmm. Okay, these are basically, we joked about using camo blanks, and Mark was amazed. You realize we have several thousand blanks here, and so it's very easy for you to view our website and completely overlook a certain percentage of them. And this is SpectraPly. SpectraPly is basically colored plywood. It is, however, all birch plywood. Turns really, really easily. But this one is a product they call Americana, which means it has the red, white, and blue stripes. It's a good material to use for any kind of a pen that's relatively small. You don't want to try to make a full-size emperor out of it. But generally speaking, it's a little over 3/4 of an inch, so you can make pretty much anything you want with Americana theme. The other ones, a couple of them, just few different ideas. There's a navy, the camos. We call these camos, actually the manufacturers call them camos. If you're looking for something that you can make that has a kind of a camo look, these are one of the ways you can do that, particularly if you're trying to go to a specific color. I'd like to make a blue pen, but I want it to be a camo pen. Okay, well, you can do that. We have plenty of choices for you.
Well, the blue fits the navy.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about that one.
Yep. And then you've also got the urban in here.
Yeah, I was going to get to those.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Urban camo is something you see a lot on TV these days. And that is also the blue, the grays and gray and blacks will work pretty well for almost any pen. One of the things about it, people ask me all the time, what plating should I use when I'm doing this particular pen blank? If you're doing these, you're going to be safe with chrome. You're also going to be pretty safe with gunmetal. Gold is a little bit more picky. You're going to kind of look at it and decide what you think goes well with the gold, because some of them will not necessarily go very well. Something like this will
the
do
blue?
very well. The blue will go very.
Diamond Knurl goes great on that one.
Yeah.
The blue Diamond Knurl.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the blue. Yeah, blue tie. Didn't think of that. You're right.
There you go.
And now we're coming. Well, we have now the red tie and a green tie. So for the lipstick camo, you can use the red tie, and again, you're going to get a nice even look of color. So there's lots of things that you can do, lots of ways you can customize it to your own desires. But generally, what we were trying to do more than anything is show that there's a vast array of possibilities.
And then now let's take a look at some of the what people would consider normal camo.
Okay.
This is what when I think of camouflage, the greens always pop out to me.
Yeah. And the other thing you'll find is that there are some that they're starting to call digital camo, where the pattern is a little bit different. And yet you're getting the camo colors. This is Urban Digital Camo, and I think you got a couple others.
So then I got this one.
Yeah. And again, this too is going to show you a very different look from one side to the other. So it turns into an interesting pen. Many of these do turn into interesting pens, and this is one of the places that Mark and I have talked before. There are so many different camos that when you ask, is it easy to turn? The answer to that is, which one? They're all pretty easy to turn, but yes, the ones that are the older patterns may be a little bit more, quote, rubbery, unquote. And they do also have a smell that may indicate that there's more rubber in. But any way you look at it, a sharp tool and you're good to go. So yeah, none of them are chippy. None of them are going to give you the problems that you have with inlay sacrolex or anything like that. They're relatively easy to turn, and they're pens that are distinctive. When you're finished with them, there aren't a lot of people using this material. So you can make something that isn't the same as what everybody else is showing.
So, and I think it fits the scheme, right?
Yep.
It's a tribute to all the people who have served for us, and I think that just shows how many different versions of this we have. So does anybody have any questions or comments on military-based component sets, military-based pen blanks, custom blanks that you can make, the service ribbon series? Any questions, comments, anything on that?
Sure.
Any questions, comments, anything you guys want to know on any of those?
As a smooth transition, as they say, we're going to talk just a little bit about the AAW. AAW, by the way, for those who don't know, is the American Association of Wood Turners. For those of you who also don't know, there is a convention coming up at Minneapolis, and it's June 10th. I think it is.
2010 to
9th, okay. It's an interesting event, and it has an interesting turn this year, in that John and Mark are both going to be demonstrators for the pen division. Of course, John is also going to be demonstrating in the casting division. So they'll both be deeply involved in it. I'll let Mark tell you a little bit more about what he and John are doing, because he knows more about it than I do.
Oh, real quickly, So if you've never done it, it's always a blast to do. If you're a turner, it's always a blast to do. You get to learn a little bit about something about all the different domains that are out there. There will be bowl turners and bladder turners, and the demonstrators are literally world class. I'm doing 3 demos out there. You're going to get a preview of one of mine tonight. Is the first one that I'm doing is an introduction to pen making, and I'm going to go everything that I know into pen making. The second one that I'm going to be doing is going to be differentiating yourself in the world of pen making without casting. So I've got about 20, 25 different pens in mind that I want to be demonstrating on how to make these pens without casting. And then the third one that I'm going to do is kind of a prelude what you're going to see tonight. So tonight, after that, I'm going to be talking about, I roughly call it Christmas in June, where you're going to be able to do Christmas presents with all the tools and techniques that you have as a pen maker are going to be applicable to that, to everything that you're going to do there. Then the nice thing about it is, if you want more on casting, John is doing 2 demos out there. He's doing casting for the pen maker, and then he's also doing one called casting for the bowl and platter turner. So some of the larger castings that are going to be out there. It's a great way to come out, talk to John, and ask him all the questions that you have. There's also a virtual part of the symposium that you can sign up for. And if you do it, one of John's demos will actually be on that. And then finally, here's a little secret, and we'll see if our eyes pop up, is if you've ever wanted to actually see and talk to Dawn from Exotic Blanks, Dawn will actually be in the booth at Exotic Blanks at the AAW in Minneapolis, and you'll be able to come out and see Ed and Dawn. A couple other little things that I want to point out there, and if you guys wouldn't mind helping me, I'm always looking for help on this. I run a Learn to Turn pen making event at the event, and you can come out and make a pen. You can come out and make as many pens as you want while we're there. And the nice thing about it is you don't pay for anything other than the component set. You pick up the component set. It's a Sierra-based component set. We've got the blanks all prepped, all ready to go. I've got some special blanks from the Louisville Slugger Bat Company still that you can make a pen out of a Louisville Slugger baseball bat. And so you can come out and get all that stuff. It's a great event. Just wanted to do a kind of a little quick commercial on it.
Oops, camera's on. I'm not supposed to be doing this one. Okay, so having covered, we think we've covered mostly the information about the military. So now let's kind of shift gears and think about what things can we create that are good for summer use and things that we might enjoy outdoors and so forth. One of the things that we kind of use to transition into this, there are a lot of pens out there now that are sport related. And the thing that we just came up with this last couple of weeks is,
This is my favorite.
yeah, this is kind of cute. We'll give you a picture. We have a golf bag fully equipped with, there's just white and golf. I think it'll be fine toward me. There you go. There we go. Now you can kind of see. You can see all the stuff we got here. Rather than trying to do it this way, let's turn this way so you can actually see what it looks like, I hope. Okay, so it is a golf bag, and it's a high quality for stuff that we generally see from the industry. This is really quite well made, but it's a golf bag, and if you have seen the golf pens that we showed last week in my email, these are the clubs that you're making internally. This end comes off. The other end comes off too. Ideally, it comes off. Oh yeah. To show how to refill
Change
the
the
thing.
refill, yep.
Change the refill. And then we put this back on. It also opens. Yeah, see if you can get over the other one. There we go.
Yep, they'll
It opens there, and it's a little confusing. We've had people call and say, how do you put the refill in? But that's how it works. Your refill sticks out all the time. There is a
spring on it, so you do get the push and you can write with it easily. And these are, of course, the wood and the putter and the iron. And it comes in 3 different platings, I believe, gold, gunmetal, and chrome. That's this part back here that actually changes from one to the other. So it's a cute set, and as a result of our Ed and Sunday meal, we've sold quite a number of them. But everybody who has actually seen them here at Exotics in person is amazed at the quality of this stuff. It's actually very well made, and it's something that I think if you choose to make a set, the set is not cheap. We figured that it's like $50 for the three pens and the bag, but it's something that if they put it on an executive desk, I don't think you're going to have too much trouble collecting over $100 for the set. But,
You know, I can imagine putting a business card in front of it too.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
or make a, you know, we haven't talked about it, but make a stand that looks like the, a business card holder that has 2 things on the side to make it look like the first T, and you could put their business cards in it.
So yeah, that's one thing for going into sports. Do we have others up here? Or did we not get that far?
Well, here, you know, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
I'll take a minute or two.
Go ahead.
So, we'll talk about some of the things that we were talking about in transition also.
Let me swap with you so that you can get at your stuff here. Okay, we're good. Over. Yeah.
So one of the things that we talked about that we were going to do in transition is still stay on the military theme. And so let's talk about some other things that you can do military related. And this is one of my favorites. I've been doing this one now for a couple of years, and I'll tell you, it is a blast to do. So if you're familiar with Spectraply, this is the red, white, and blue Spectraply, and I've turned it into a pepper mill. And what I did was I simply took a baseball, a logoed baseball, so it's all fully licensed, and used that as my crank top. And so this one is the Marine Corps one. Using that one as Spectraply on the bottom and the Marine Corps baseball on the top to be my crank.
Oh, just the Marine Corps thing. I've never seen one of these before. That's the reason I want everybody to see it. I didn't know this existed, but it really does spice up the pepper mill and give you something that I've never seen before. And certainly it's consistent with the theme of Americana, and it really is a good idea.
So that one's the red, white, and blue on that one. And if you're interested in the other ones, here is the Navy. So this is the Navy ball done on the red, white, and blue. You can also envision doing the Spectraply as the blue, right? The blue, or in the Navy, you could do something with the red or whatever else you're going to be doing on here. But this same thing, fully functioning pepper grinder. This is the 12-inch one, and I'll get into this in a little while. I'll give you a little bit of idea how to actually make one of these and how to turn it, if you guys want to know some of the details on turning these things. Let me go through some of the stuff that we have, and then I'll take a minute and give you a little bit better idea on how to actually make these things.
I'll talk a little about giveaways when we know what giveaways.
So we do. So give me one sec. You know what? You want to do one of the first giveaways? We have 3 the reason that everybody comes out is because of the giveaways. And I'm going to be talking about using these half wood, half acrylic blanks and some of the handles and stuff that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. And so these are the giveaways. Dean, do you want to handle? Let's give away the green one first. Dean, you want to handle it?
Sounds good. I will put it in the chat in a second. So you got pretty good odds today. Unfortunately, we got a little small crew watching live today for whatever reason. So I will put out there. Give me 1 second to get it started.
This is fairly translucent. So what you're looking for, what you probably make out of this would be a bottle stopper or a handle. Handle particularly, it doesn't matter because you can turn it and it'll be perfectly fine.
I'm actually gonna get into it.
Oh, okay.
I'll actually
Go
talk
ahead.
exactly
Mhm.
about it.
Okay. But the green is pretty translucent. You can see through it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, go ahead, Dean. I'm sorry.
So let's see.
No,
Dean,
you're good. Give me a second. I'm getting it ready. Sorry.
Oh, no
Caught
problem.
me a little by surprise there.
You know us. We're off the cuff.
It's giving me grief. Why don't you keep talking? I'll let you know when I'm ready in a sec.
Okay.
All right. Well, so the other things that we're gonna get into now, right after Dean is done with that one, and has us all set up. A couple other things we're gonna talk about, just to give you guys an idea of what we're gonna talk about in the next 45 minutes to an hour, is as Ed said, Memorial Day is also the kickoff to summer. And you get invited to a lot of different summer parties. You get invited to picnics. You've got friends and family come over. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of all the other items that you could do and you could make for get-togethers related to the summertime. And the nice thing about it is, when you get invited to a picnic, a lot of the times, based on your last name, they pick out a letter. And if you're A through F, you're bringing a cold item and all that other stuff. The cool thing about what we're going to talk about today is you can actually make something almost as a housewarming gift, but make it for the grill master or someone who's out there for the picnic. And everything that we're going to do today, and we'll show it to you, is going to be done using the same component sets and the same tools that you have for pen making. So it's going to be basically everything that you need for doing and making a pen. So Dean, are we ready, or do you want me to keep going?
1 second. Just testing it now.
Because I know people are anxious to get in on winning the first blank.
Yeah, and it is not working. Give me a second to back again.
Okay.
And George has got a question for you.
So I can't see George's question. You want to read it to me?
It says, at MPG, I saw a pen made with shell casings. What can you tell me about them?
Oh, that's an excellent one. You want to talk a little bit more about that one?
Yeah, years ago, and lots of years ago, this was very, very popular. You can now what you saw at the MPG is one gentleman who does make them now and makes them available as kits, and we do have some of those kits. We haven't gotten them up on the website yet, but yes, that will be available from Exotics at some point in time. The mechanics of doing that are not really very difficult. You start with a shell, a fired shell usually. 30 cal was the one that people used often. The reason they use 30 cal often is a couple of things. Number one, 30 cal comes in either brass or a chrome look. I don't know what it really is, but it's got the chrome look. The other reason is a once fired 30 cal will have an opening at the nib that is almost exactly the right size for a slimline nib. So you can design it so that you drill into the back of the shell, and of course you drill a 7mm hole, and get the tube in there centered properly, which means finding a way to center it at the nib. The way that I did that for inside track information, if you've ever encountered electrical connection material that is shrink wrap, that will fit just beautifully on the end of the tube that you're putting in there. And then that shrink wrap makes sure that everything stays centered in your pen tube. So that's all there is to making the bottom half of it. You put in a slimline transmission, and you're good to go. It's really that simple. Now there are some people and there are some products. You can buy bullet tips, copper bullet tips, that will work to go into that to make it look like, closer to look like a bullet. If you don't want to use the regular slimline front end nib. The front end nib is easier, but the other one looks better.
Well, the brass one does, and the rose Rose gold,
Yeah.
rose gold looks kind of nice too, because it gives it a little bit more distinction.
Yeah, I'm scared of rose gold.
I agree
So
with you.
it's, by the way, I have absolutely no reason to be scared of rose gold. We have used it from time to time on demand, and we've never had a problem with it. But the reason things are, quote, rose gold is because it has a copper alloy in it. And my thinking is copper tarnishes. And so I'm not in a hurry to put something out there that I think may have a tendency to tarnish, because we have enough things that can go wrong without trying to find them. So essentially, as I say, there is no historical reason why I should feel that way. It's just a personal prejudice. So if you like it, it's a wonderful product.
Leslie, can I interrupt one? Sure. So I see Dean said if you type blank into the chat, you will be eligible for the first giveaway, and only 5 people have done it. So, I don't know if I might type blank into the chat to see if I can win it. I'd have, a 12% chance of winning it, or 17% chance of winning it, actually. So in a few minutes, I will talk a little bit about how best to use this kind of blank.
Okay.
How to hide the component that'll actually do the connection to it, and how you can do it and use it for a million different things.
Mhm.
So, Dean, we got a minute. I can kind of wait to just have you run the rest of it, so we can have some fun. Kevin says, go for it, Mark. So I guess he wants me to continue.
No, I think he wants you to enter against him. I think that he's saying go for it so you can enter. You're 1 in 12 chance. Actually, we're up to about only 8. Come on, people. I realize we're a little light tonight for whatever reason. Everybody's hiding from the thunderstorms, maybe, but yeah, pretty good chance.
No one's ever met me and says we're a little light tonight,
Yeah, amen to that one. I can relate to that too.
No one has
All
ever
right.
said it.
So while we're waiting, what's the next topic up for bid there, guys?
So once we were talking about pepper mills, I wanted to talk a little bit about some other the pepper mills that you could do. Once again, you're out at the barbecue, you're cooking up something, and we can always use pepper mills. Here's one that I did. Can you give me the naked piece of maple? So this is kind of fun. So I'm also president of one of the wood turning clubs here locally in Chicago. And one of the things that I always like to do is, what can you do with something raw? And so this is just maple. And it's a simple piece of maple. It was the end of a baseball bat billet that I was trying to do. And so what I did was I just drilled it all in. And if I made this a pepper mill, to be honest with you, I would think this is kind of bland and wouldn't be as exciting enough for me to be given to anybody. But what I did was I simply took, and I love doing this stuff, is I took TransTint. And I don't know if you're familiar with TransTint, but it's a coloring agent. And this is TransTint. You can still see, I'll turn it up here. I kept the maple on the bottom. And if I unscrew the middle on it here, it's got the maple on the inside here, and it's maple. And all I did was I took the maple that you just saw, and then I put a little bit of shellac on it. So I shellacked it all off to seal it, and then I colored it with TransTint. I put on a nice deep blue on there first, and then I rubbed it off and sanded it off at a real low speed. Then I put a little bit of green in there, where you can see the green here on this side. Same thing, I rubbed it off, put a little bit of sandpaper on it, and then I finally put a little bit of yellow, and I just splotched on the yellow in random places. And I don't have to, hopefully the camera is doing this justice, but I love how this one comes out. I think it came out really nice. And another thing, and I will tell you this, Ed has these. These are now 3D printed knobs for these things. And so all you got to do is, instead of having to worry about turning your knob down to fit in the hole perfectly and all that other stuff, all you do is you drill in the same hole that you drilled in for this one. And the 1 1/16 hole that I drilled in here, I put it in here, and then I glue in one of these 3D printed knobs. Then just line it all up, drops in. I don't know if you're familiar with how you put these pepper mills together. I always put my finger on the bottom to hold the little knob up. And there you go. And so there's a complete trans-tint done pepper mill made with just a really, really, really simple $2 piece of maple. What do you guys think?
Thing about this that's really interesting is you could try to die and stabilize and get all that equipment to try to make it blue. And honestly, particularly with maple, chances are you wouldn't get a great result. But by waiting until you have finished turning it and have everything ready to go, then you can come back with the color. And as Mark says, when you finish it up like that, you can also sand it after the fact to remove some of the color and bring in the other complementary color. I think there's a lot of opportunity with Trans-Tint
Yeah,
that we just don't, I have never paid attention to, and I think that it's a product that could be used quite effectively
I
on
think
a lot of these
if you guys
products.
want to do a demo and just trans-tint.
Yeah.
So there's two different things that we can use, right? There's always the Blue Boost coloring in there,
Mhm.
and we can talk a little bit about that in a future one. But I have been playing with this trans-tint, as you know, for years.
Mhm.
And the color selection is just endless. And what it does, and I would like to challenge you guys to do it. You just take a simple 25, when I say a pen blank, it's a 25-cent piece of pen. But this maple blank probably costs $2 to $3, and that's it. And look at that, a completely handcrafted pepper mill that you get out of it when it's done. And I don't know if the colors, depending on where you're looking at it, if the TV is doing it justice. I love the color scheme of it.
Mhm. Yeah, you
And
can
then
see a lot more of the green in person than you can see on the screen.
And just so you know, that one, and people always ask on the finish on it when I was done. Once I sanded it, same thing like on the Spectraply one. I just shot it with the with the Blue Boost,
Mhm.
and the finish on these things are incredible.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, any questions? So it looks like our first winner was George Henderson. Congratulations, George.
That's correct, George. Please send an email to sales@exoticblanks.com.
We know where to find George. He knows where to find us. George is local.
Ah, well, that makes shipping easier.
Exactly.
So let me put these on the side so I can hit the button quicker.
Were you trying to think of lacquer shot when you were talking
Yes,
about-
that was it. So that kind of takes care of some of the quick and easy ones, some of the pepper mills. But if you're going to make pepper mills, there's a whole bunch of other cool ones that you can do. I've noticed that these are some of my favorites. This one is another simple pepper mill. Once again, the tooling on this is incredibly easy. This is just same exact way that you make a pen. It's just I hate to say it, it's a larger pen.
Mhm.
And if you've never done a pepper mill before, this is the one to make, because it's just a simple hole that you drill all the way through. The cap here holds about 5 tablespoons, so for us that's a good 5 to 6 weeks. Close it up, you put your peppercorns in here. When you're grinding, you grind right over what you want to season and the screw on top. If you adjust the grind, you turn it clockwise, you get a finer grind. Counterclockwise, you get a nice coarse grind. And this is an incredibly easy pepper mill to make.
And it sells well at shows because people never saw it before.
Yep.
It's an antique look. So, when they're serving their friends, they look at it as being something that no one's ever seen before.
Well, you can also easily envision, right, that you could do this with your special colors on here.
Mhm.
I will tell you one of the tricks that I will be demoing when I'm up in Minneapolis is you can do that, drill a hole in here and put a golf ball marker in here so you can incorporate your sports teams and things like that. Now you can't do that to sell, but if you're giving it to your best friend or your buddy out there, you can incorporate it right in one of these things. And there's a whole bunch of cool different theme and variations that you can do on that one. And if you want to do other salt and pepper sets, I forgot to put the tops on here, but these are your basic salt and pepper set. This one normally had the shaker top on here and the shaker top on the bottom of it.
Mhm.
So just playing around, I was using a little bit different tools on there to see what I can do to play around with that one. And then finally, this one's underrated, but I like it a lot. This is the handheld one. And there's not a lot of turning. Once again, it's a mandrel, and the mandrel sets you up, and you use some bushings on here to turn this to the bushings, and then you simply use your thumb, and you can see the little grind mechanism grinds everything up that's in there. So once again, a nice little easy pepper mill to be making. Anybody have any questions on pepper mills?
The advantage of those small ones, both of those don't hold an awful lot of pepper, but that means that it will stay fresh longer. So if you're buying them for the purpose of trying to sell them, that it's a better idea to use ones that are less material in them, less pepper in them, so that it stays fresher longer. Or just don't fill your big one all the way up. That's also the way you can do that.
You know, I know that there, I like to have kind of what I'd advocate is I have different, I'm advocating doing this for friends and family because I don't want you competing against me at shows. But if you ever come see me at a show, one of the things I'll tell people all the time, right, is I give you a lot of variation. I carry the complete line of pepper mills that I have out there, so that this way, if you're heavy into pepper, then you'd use the tall one. If you're not into it that much and you want the smaller one. The only other thing that I'll tell you is if you are going to sell pepper mills, it's definitely worth your time to invest some time and educate yourself on pepper. There's a lot of different peppers out there. I know there's a company out in California called the California Pepper Company. You can get the rainbow colored peppercorns. You can get the pink peppercorns. You can get sweet peppercorns. You can get sour peppercorns. It's a lot of fun to figure out. And it just makes people who come into your booth you have a little bit more to talk to them about. So any other questions on the pepper mills? Dean, anything that I can't see?
Nothing that I've seen. Just out of curiosity, do you have an assortment of peppers in your show when you have them, Mark?
So I used to do that, and now I don't. Only because so when you're selling things at shows, you do have to be conscious of the fact that if you're selling food products, sometimes you have to jury in, and you actually have to get have the food products endorsed. So rather than deal with that anymore, I now don't sell any of the peppercorns while I'm there. But that's just a thing in when you're doing the shows.
It makes sense. Thanks.
So,
You will find, even though you don't probably know about it, if you look in the pepper at your local grocery store, you'll find that they do have white pepper available, peppercorns, and black peppercorns, and frequently they also have red. So you can buy it elsewhere, but yes, Mark is right. We used to sell pepper when we did the shows, and fortunately, it never arose as a question. But he is correct. You got to be very careful about food products.
so they do ask that now, and especially because I don't do as many craft-related shows, I do a lot more art shows. There are people who come around and are conscious of anybody selling any food-related product.
I'm sure they are.
So what happens after you've gone to the picnic? Oh, I forgot my favorite thing for the picnic. Where is it? It's right here.
Didn't forget.
No.
Almost forgot.
So that now, if you want to make something for the barbecuer in your life, this is my favorite. So this is our complete barbecue set. There's this new telephone.
Oops, that's not the direction. That's the direction.
There you go.
Like that.
Yep. And so here's the spatula. So these are all, once again, it's not a real complicated. I mean, I think it looks great. And you can hand it to a chef, but all it is a simple hybrid blank that I self cast. So I used a bunch of maple burl, self-cast it in there with the blue and a little bit of lime green and white, and I'll tell you that I made the blank slightly bigger. I made the blank 3 inches by 3 inches by 12 inches so that I could cut it and have the same coloring through the entire scheme. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but what happens is now the nice thing about it is these are all turned using just same technique. It's just a big pen, a bushing set. So it's a bushing set that you use, and you're completely hand making this and hand turning it. And then all you do at the end, much like you do a pen, you're going to do a little glue on it. You're going to glue these parts together. There's caps on the end, so you're making a little tenon to hold this in place. And you just pen it and put it all together. I love this set. So any questions on the grilling and the grilling set?
Nope. Kevin says they're awesome. Other than that, no questions so far.
Well, I gotta have Kevin more at my shows because or doing my demos because I like the fact that he's being nice to me. So thank you, Kevin.
I think he's hoping to give them away.
Oh,
I will comment that those utensils are really very well made. I
oh yeah.
typically don't expect an awful lot when we get these kinds of things from vendors because quality is not necessarily the first product. But this is really a well-made set. You should look at it, and I think you'll be happy with it if you decide that you want to try to make them.
It's definitely heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got some girth to it. And I like the fact that it comes in that little case for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a great little thing to have.
Yeah, I get right there with you, so it look like I'm talking from outside. This brings up a bit of a point that I should kind of make to everybody. The situation with tariffs is such that all of these products are in a state of flux. And so this particular one, we talked about it, Don and I talked about before Mark was going to show it. It is a really good product at a really good price. And currently, with the who knows what the tariff is going to be, I can only tell you that there is a certainty that things will go up in price, not down. But I can't tell you yet what that means because they haven't yet decided how much it's going to be. So be aware that when you look at all the products in the industry, pen kits down to anything else you want to look at, all that stuff is either made in Taiwan or China. Some of it is being made in India now, and some of it is being made in Vietnam down the road. So, those are going to be apparently somewhat better, but paying attention to what's going on with the tariff situation, currently there's 35% tariff that's added on when we get it from China. So if it costs us $10, it now has $3.50 added to it for tariff. We didn't have $3.50 6 months ago. So that means somewhere we have to make up $3.50. So as I say, I don't want to try to tell you, scare you, or any of the rest of that stuff. It just seems to me that it's only fair that we try to keep you informed. And we would do that much better if we had any idea what was happening. But we follow it carefully. There just is a continuous change from day to day. So much for my speech, and back to the program, as they say.
Well, so then the next thing, what do you do after you've had your barbecue and you've cooked it all out? You've done the pepper on there and you put it out. Now what we're looking for, dessert. And so these are always fun to make, and these are a great, once again, idea of giving it as a gift to the picnic or the area that you're at. Ice cream scoop. Zoom in just a minute.
What is here? We can do that. Okay.
So there's an ice cream scoop. That's the more traditional ice cream scoop with the hand crank on here. I love the blank on here. It's a hand turned resin.
That one is called Magma. If you're looking for it on our website, yes, it is there, and it's called Magma Mesh.
And then if you like the crank mechanism, there, if you prefer the scoop mechanism, this one is one of the handles. And notice, this is what I was going to talk about. Notice that this is that same blank with the transparency in here. But if you're a pen maker, the first thing that you know is, what do you do when you drill the hole? You paint the hole. And so what I did was I painted the hole here, and I guarantee you, even no matter where I put this, you cannot really see where the hole was drilled.
Yeah, it worked out well.
And then, if you like making hybrids and you don't mind casting hybrids and you get all the extra burl, especially when you walk around exotic lakes and you see all the beautiful burl Don has, this is a hand cast blend. And the nice thing about doing the bigger things that I've done is that you can put a little bit more of the shocking colors on something like this. I would not necessarily make the peppermill with this big of a shocking color on there, but when I'm doing it on something small, it's a nice color on there. And then the nice thing that you have is then when your customer comes up, they go, wow, I love yellow. I've got something for yellow. I've got something for orange. I've got something for red. So these are just a nice little compliment to the stuff that you can do. And just another way of making a handle. So go ahead.
When we talk about the handles, particularly on this type of thing, recognize that Mark is careful to make sure that all of these are threaded, because this type of a handle will not do well in a dishwasher. So when you're trying to do anything with them, make sure
That one is not threaded.
it's not threaded.
Yeah.
Okay,
The next one's will.
okay. I'll shut up and let Mark move on.
Yeah, those are the ones that are permanently attached.
Really? Okay.
So then what happens afterwards, right? Now I've had my dessert, and a little bit later, what do? I get a craving. What do I want? I want a pizza. These are so popular to make, and I love doing this stuff. It's a nice pizza cutter.
Beautiful.
I love the blades on here. I love the plastic on it only because it is really, really sharp. This one is done using SpectraPly. And so now what does that mean? I can bring in team colors. I can bring in your other colors. But what I want to talk about here, and the most important thing is, how do I make this blank? Or how do I make this thing? And this is what we just talked about. So you can see here, I use these are called V-circs. And so let me grab the V-circs from my okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
No problem.
let me grab a couple of V-circs. I can use the storm correctly outside.
I was gonna say, you may want to make a mention of the.
And then know that it is possible, we certainly hope not, but it is possible that we will suddenly go off the air. There is a real good storm going on outside, and our internet connection here is good, but not great. We pay for a great one, but we get a good one.
Yeah, your audio has actually gotten worse again because I can actually hear the rain coming across the audio pretty good.
Sorry about that.
George asks, what was the finish used on the ice cream scoops? I don't know if you caught that. I missed that. I was sidetracked.
So on the ice cream scoops, what I will do is I will go through my traditional finish on here. You know what, George, if you don't mind, let me go through one real quick way of how I make it, and then I'll talk about the finish in about 2 to 3 minutes. Gotcha. Make sense? Let me move over here. Yep. So how do I make the handle? So let's talk about it, and I'll go through the whole process. So what I'll do is I'll take a blank, and these are 1.5 by 1.5 by 6 inches long. And this is I don't know who won. Did George win the blank earlier? So George has one of these blanks coming his way. And then this is so easy to do, and I'll show you why I do this in a split second. Then I drill a hole in it. This hole is a 1/2 inch hole. And then I don't know if I don't know how long you've been selling this. I know that I found these too. These are V-circs. and they're a threaded insert. I know the weird part about it is when you pick up these sets, these component sets for the pizza cutters and all that other stuff, they have you threading into the wood. And I just found, why would I do that if I could use these B-certs? So I found these B-certs, and I think, you know, we have here is what we do is we just drill a 1/2 inch hole and then carefully glue it in. And then the nice thing about it is this screws right into that B-cert. So you can see here, there's the B-cert. And all I'm going to do is screw it in. And notice when I got tight, I had this alignment perfectly set up in an alignment. So I wanted to do that to give you guys a little bit of an idea of, it's a blank like this, it doesn't matter at all how I glue in that B-cert. That B-cert can be anywhere I want, just glue it in, and I'm going to be fine. If I'm doing something like this where I'm doing SpectraPly, or I want that pattern on the side, I will show you. Now what I do is, here's SpectraPly. I will actually screw the pizza cutter into the B-cert and then insert it in. And so that way you can see here, I've got perfect alignment on everything that goes up so that the cutter is in perfect alignment. And that way this would look weird if, you know, when you were done with it and you went to use it, it looked like that. So it always locks in right at a certain spot for me because I take this extra effort and line it all up, glue that in, and then now I can unscrew this top out and put it on my lathe and turn it. So let's get into a little bit of turning on this first, and then we'll finish off with the finish on it. So if you're going to do this and you want to turn these things, the only thing that I always think you might want to pick up is, I love these things. This is a mini chuck for doing exactly what we're doing here. And you can see here, if I take this, this is a 1/2 inch screw thread. So it does screw right, or sorry, 3/8 inch, yeah, 3/8 inch screw thread. I'll put this on my lathe. And you can see here, I could screw that right in, right? But one thing that I do use, and I'm going to just pull this one off the lathe for a second. Because I have one turned on my lathe. Here. Is I will take a minute and I'll measure whatever this thickness is here, right? The width of this here. So then I'll find a washer or any kind of item that'll act as a washer, that'll act as my bushing. So now what I'll do is you'll see here, I'll just simply take this, put that on there, screw it in, and now that's my bushing. And now all I got to do is I got to turn it down to this. Make sense? Or they would say turn down to what? But what I also found was is when I'm doing something closed end on the lathe like this, I'm a little bit more nervous than I think most turners are, because I always say if something bad's going to happen, it will always happen to me. And I know people will just completely chop this up and turn it on the lathe. And so what I'll do is, as Ed knows and everybody knows, I am a huge advocate of this turn between centers mandrel. And one of the things that happens when you do this turn between centers mandrel is you'll get these, if you buy it from Ed, you'll get these these knurled bushings that you can put on there for doing finishing, CA finishing on there. We can see what I did was I just took 2 of my bushings, put them both on that here, and then when I put it on my lathe, I will simply push this up, And now that'll hold as a steady on there. And it'll give me just enough pressure on there that this will lock it into place. And then when it's spinning on there, I don't have to worry about any force when I get down on here and I push down on here. Make sense? If anybody has any questions, please let me know. But I love using this, and all I do is these are literally the same two CA finish neural nut or nuts or whatever you call these things that I put on there to press it in. And so I love being able to do that. It gives me complete control over it. One thing that I will tell you, and if I have a chance at the end, I might actually turn one of these, is if you look at this one, let's see, where's one that I just turned? This handle. There's a little bit of a indent in there to give me a nice little bit of curvature or something visual to look at when I'm on here. It's got the neural nut in here. If you decide to do this and you decide to actually put this in there, do not do it first. Turn the whole thing down, round it all off, sand it all off, and then go back in and put this in. What I found was that when I put this in early in the process, and then I got down to this end, I did have two of these snap on me. And so I will finish the whole blank down, and I'll give it a little bit of an indent there. And so in terms of style and design, I will tell you this. I did this, I wanted to show Ed this kind of as a mock on myself, is when you first start doing this, here's the pizza cutter handle, and I thought, wow, this is cool. And you can see here, I just used a nice piece of maple, and I turned a maple handle. And I will tell you, it's bland as heck. It was cool. It's got a great finish on it. I don't know if you can see it on there. You can see yourself on the finish on here and everything else, but it's bland as heck. So what happens when you're a wood turner? What's the next thing that you do? You decide to show off your talent. And so I made this pizza cutter handle, which is completely nuts. There's got some V grooves in here. I really only did this as a mock on myself. I didn't really do this for anything else. But I've got V grooves in here. I've got some roundovers. I put it on a piece of walnut. Once again, didn't need that. So all I'm telling you is if you're going to do this, the nice simple handle with a very small little strain mechanism up in here is the way to go. And then when I get to do the finish on here, what I'll do is I'll give it a first coat of, and I probably put on 2 to 3 coats of Zinsser Bullseye Shellac, and then I will let it sit overnight. And then I'll remount it back up. I'll recheck it back up on my lathe just like this. But as it's turned, and I'll actually put this on the back end here. And then I'll use 4/0 steel wool. And I'll run the lathe with 4/0 steel wool, and I'm going to knock off all the majority of any kind of spray imperfections that I have on it. And then what I'll do is if I do need to go a little bit further, I'll micro mesh it. Once again, right, it's a tool that we have in our arsenal as a pen maker to use micro mesh. So I'll micro mesh it down, and then I'll spray it. And I will tell you, under complete transparency, I used to spray it with Zinsser, with Watco lacquer. I love the Watco lacquer. But now the latest ones that I've been doing, I just want to tell you that I have switched to lacquer shot on it all. And I will tell you, with 3 sprays of this, it's fantastic. It's got such a great finish on it. This pepper mill was done that way. And the wildest part about it is because you can see the shine line that's in there. The wildest part about this finish is if you've ever used lacquer, and I'm not saying anything against lacquer. If you use lacquer, please continue to use lacquer. But the only thing that I'll tell you about when you're using lacquer is you want to make sure that you let it dry before you do any of your finish sanding or buffing. And when I say let it dry, for me, that's a good 3 to 4 days of letting it sit, letting it dry out, and then I'll put it back up on my lathe, and then I will do any kind of light sanding on there, and then I'll knock it all off, and then I will take it over to my buffing system and buff it all out. If you decide that you're going to do that earlier, you're going to wipe the lacquer off with it. One thing that I found with this lacquer shop, because it was made for the guitar industry and the musical instrument industry, is I can literally go right to my buffing system 24 to 4. I do 48 hours just because I'm still a little nervous about it, but I'll let it harden up. And if you check out John's video, he's got it, and I know that he's done it in 24 hours or less. So, George, I hope that answered your question as to what finish I put on it. The nice part about it is, right, and I want to point this out a lot, is because of the way that I have this, and I have this set up here, right, and if this was my handle, I can always unscrew this off. I can put the pizza cutter in the sink, wash the pizza cutter, and I don't ever have to worry about this ever getting near my finish. Or sorry, getting water near my finish. So if you like that, here's a couple other ones, a couple other Demon variations. This one's hand cast, and I hope you can see pine cones in the resin. Can you see the pine cones that are in the resin?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a hand cast blank that I did with pine cones in the resin. If you like to differentiate yourself, and I know there's going to be people on that this will kill, this is a spalted piece of maple. And I wanted to just do something a little different with it. So when this one, I actually put a glue boost finish on it. And what I did was, when I did the glue boost finish, I tinted the glue boost using master tint. And I did the yellow master tint on here. So that gives me yet another color variation. So to give you an idea of what you can do here, this is glue boost. This one's got pine cones in the resin. This one's half wood, half acrylic that you're doing. And then this one would be Spectraply in the finish on it. And then this one is going to be a little different. This is, can you guess what it is? Trans tint. It's the same way that I did the peppermill. I took a piece of maple and I did it on here. So hopefully that answers any of your questions about pizza cutters, doing the pizza cutters this way, any kind of finish that I put on my pizza cutters. I'm looking in the comments. I can't see them all. Dean, do we have any comments or questions on how I do any of the ice cream scoops, the pizza cutters, the half wood, half acrylic?
Nope. Quiet crew tonight.
Well, I'll tell you this one. Let's see if anybody likes this one, and then we're going to go to a giveaway. So, as you guys know, I also demo a lot. It's okay to talk about this. I also demo for EasyWood wood turning tools. And the nice thing about it is, Chris and Christy, I have access to a lot of favors that I can ask of them. So I asked them for a spare set of handles. And so this is a pizza cutter. And if you've ever used EasyWood tools, you know that this is an EasyWood handle. I drilled it out. I put the knurl nut in there. And I got this. So I see here, Treasure Maze says, what size are the cutter blanks? I think if you're asking about the pizza cutters, they're inch and a half by inch and a half by 6 inches. TCB Bushing says, I've used food coloring for dye maple and it's turned out great. Thanks, TCB. I think that's a great idea. That's why I love doing this one. And I love having people share. I think Kevin's got a comment, but it's a little bit off the page yet, so I can't read it. So, Dean, do you want to tell me what Kevin said?
Says, I like the colors of the pine cone blank.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I know Dawn has some here, the pine cone blanks, and I just love doing it because it's just a little bit more fun and something you can do on there. So, anybody have any questions on any of the pizza cutters? So, how about if we go to and we ask Dean? Dean, do you want to do the second giveaway?
Yeah, now I'm set. There's no delay this time. So, what I'll tell you.
This has got the insert on it. And then you put a spot here.
Mhm.
You're not afraid that's creating a weak spot. Okay.
I'm giving it to people to test.
Okay. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, now people are waking up a little faster this time.
I'm storm. I'm trying to get in.
It's actually pretty good right now. I hope you can hear us a little better right now because this is as good as it's been for the last last hour or so.
The background raise definitely. The background noise. What? No sound. No sound. I'm guessing that was me. It was probably me. That. Is it truly no sound?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Bob, I can-
well, you can always hear me, but hold on a second. I'm gonna take my headphone off.
Can you hear us when we're talking through the headset?
As it's been for the last
Oh, they said there was no sound when I said the word. Ha, my bad. Oh, am I muted? No, I'm not muted now. Weird.
Oh, nice. You know what? Give Dean heat because him and Ed always enjoy giving me heat. Give them all the heat that you can.
Oh, I bet you I know what happened. Let me try flipping the video here once. I know what happened. I don't have sound on that other thing. I have to fix that. So when I flip to the full view of me, I can't talk. I've got to flip my settings. For some reason there's no video on that one, a sound on that one. So sorry guys. Yes. One more minute, then it's again type storm into the drawing and we've got about 20 watching and 14 entries. So give another minute for a couple more entries and then we'll pull the winner. Definitely a quiet night there out on YouTube land for some reason.
Well, we've got a bunch of, so after this, just to give you an idea, we've got other things that we're going to be making. And then I can do a little bit of turning if you guys want to see the turning on there. Ed wanted me to point out, and I do want to bring this up, is, but I will be honest, I haven't had a problem, but I always respect the thought on there that you're doing this. You do have to understand, though, that when I do this and I put this little bit of a dimple in here, I have taken out some structure to this handle, and that has created a weaker spot here just because of the density that's there.
Mhm.
I haven't had a problem with it, but you know what? I love the point that's out there, and so just be aware of that. And you can see here, I don't go too thin, but it could definitely be a point of contention.
The other thing I would think about here, you know that you have that B cert that comes down this far. If we take this and put
Yep.
it next to it, we know that it's coming down that far. So one caution that I would do if I were making them would be to lower this a little bit so that I have more room of structure up here, particularly.
Yep.
But I'm not trying to pick nits.
No.
When you come down to something like this, I can break at least one ice cream scoop every 3 months. And I do it because the ice cream is harder than heck. And I have ice cream every night. So, when you look at where is the weak point, try to be aware of the fact that if you create a spot that's at all possible to break, I will break it. So I'm kind of your average customer, I'm afraid. So, go ahead.
So Dawn, this is George's, and then this one, this is the second one that we're looking at.
That's pretty.
Well, I kind of like it because it's got a little storm look to it.
Winner number 2 is Scroller Bill.
Scroller Bill, you get this one. I love this one too.
And Scroller Bill, no reminder email is a very, very good point. I did it kind of intentionally because in order to remind people of this, I'm sending out over 10,000 emails, most of whom don't care. So I need to do something to structure this better and get a better email list so that I can send it out to only those of you who actually come and enjoy it and so forth without pestering the other thousands of people who really don't care. So thank you for that comment. I think you're absolutely right. And I will certainly see what I can't do to fix it. So, Ken Fleming, most people don't store their ice cream in liquid nitrogen. Well, I'm close, but not quite. It is harder than a brick. Let's put it that way. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Kent. I love that. Actually, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a reminder from a time check in case you aren't seeing it. It's 7:20.
Okay.
WGN.
So basically, half hours.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely gonna cover the stuff that I want to do. So now what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that we can make. Now that what we're gonna do in the next half hour is we're gonna exploit that BSERP. I'm gonna show you all the cool things that you can do using that BSERP. So let's jump over back to this camera. I don't know how many people here enjoy a little bit of a wine. And if you do, yeah. Okay, there was a little bit of a wine. So you can see here what I did was I took a scrap from one of the pepper mills that I make that are half wood, half acrylic. I drill a hole in there. I put the BSERP in there. And then now I've got a bottle stopper. And I went nuts. I mean, I use this BSERP on everything. So there's the BSERP on it. So I do that with the bottle stopper. If you like a little bit of wine, and this one's gonna come out wrong. You shouldn't do wine in cars, but I love making this one. This one is a gear shift. If you can see it on there. So it's the wine bottle stopper. I used a little chunk of wood that I would never use again. Sorry, acrylic that I would never use again. It was from a scrap from something else. And you can see here what I did was I made a nice little bottle stopper. These bottle stoppers are great for making things. And then the nice thing about it is if you use this BSERP and you're at I hate to tell you this, but you're at a show and someone says, well, I don't drink wine, but boy, that I like this thing. Well, here is a bottle opener. Same exact form factor and same exact thing. And now I've got something that I can universally make that controls two different items. Ed, do you want to talk about, I'll get to yours in a second. Now that we got that BSERP though, and I got, let me do this one. So I've got this handle that's half wine, half acrylic. And this is what I'm going to point out what you just said and some of the things you got to be aware of is this handle here. And notice I did a little something different. I would call this more of a generic lip on there, right? But I use the BSERP, but now I've got a generic lip on here. What does that afford me? Well, now I can use a potato masher, right? I can use a grater. I can do a potato grater. All these things that I have, all because instead of doing it the way that the manufacturer tells you to do it and to screw thread these things on, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use these BSERPs and I'm going to abuse them by putting them on everything and that they all screw together. So,
other thing you may want to point out,
sure.
Mark, each of these ferrules is a different diameter. Yeah. And so when you made this the way that Mark is proposing, you don't have a matching size here. So when he screws it together, the fact that the different diameters are one is different from the next are immaterial. It still looks very, very professional and very finished. So by using that insert, you really do get to the point where pretty much anything will go on there and his design.
the major thing here is don't design it so that it comes out with the same diameter as this piece, because then when you go to this
Yep.
one or this one, it's gonna look like you goofed. So make sure that you make the diameter difference enough that it looks like it was done intentionally.
Well, and then the nice thing about it is for those of you who don't compete against me at shows, you can pick out the handle and then you can pick out whatever item you want on top.
Right.
So that this way. Now, one thing you have to be conscious of on it, and I should have pointed that out before I screwed this all back together. Let me just be, there is one thing you have to be conscious of, is by far the mashed potato has got the longest screw in it. And so what you do have to either do is accommodate it and make sure that you're drilling it down deep enough
Mhm.
and to be able to handle any of the different kind of accoutrements that you want to be able to put in.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll drill mine all the way down to the level of the handle for that one. And then I have all these different kind of things that I can just simply screw on. And once again, I mean, I love this. This is just a chunk of a bro that you would normally throw away. And instead of doing it with the vibrant colors, I did the opposite. You know, it's a little dirty, but I did it with the opposite and I went with clear. I will tell you this, if you haven't done casting like this one and you're going to do something like this and you want to try clear, before you try clear and make it perfectly clear, put just a hair of a tint of a color in it. It gives you a little bit more room to learn on this stuff and grow with it. And I will tell you this, yellow, any of the tints that you use, especially the tints, the Illumolite tints and things like that, one drop goes a long, long way. If you do a single drop of purple, it can color the world with it. So just be aware of that when you're going to do it. I'm not going to get into how the colors and the different colors are mixed because John covered that last month
Mhm.
in the casting video. So if you wanna check out John's casting video from last month and how he gets the effect on the swirls on here, he tells you exactly how to go up to the temperature. And if you get a chance, you can always stop by and see him at the AEW next month. So that being said, once again, but I do want to point this out, is the turning is exactly the same. There's my mandrel that I'm doing. I'm just simply screwing this onto here. I'm using my turn between centers. I'm putting it on here. The nice thing about this is if you noticed here on the bottom, there is a little bit of a flat spot on it. I actually think aesthetically you kind of want a flat spot on it. I don't think you want a cone head on it. And that gives me enough here so that when I put it on there, that almost acts as a bushing for me.
Mhm.
So hopefully this makes sense for you guys. But it's just a nice little thing that you can do and that you can make. So let's talk a little bit about a couple other little things that I've done. And I did this one. So I've done pepper mills. And one of the things that I do on my pepper mill is I do a lot of half wood, half acrylics. And then you get this chunk of wood that's left over. And God knows I don't want to throw this away. That is just too beautiful to throw away. So I'm going to keep it. And this is a meat pounder. Anybody want to guess in the comment how it's assembled? Oh, sorry, the B-cert stuck in there. It's a B-cert. What does that give me? That gives me that if I want to use the meat pounder, I can use that one. If I want to flip it to the flat one, this is a crusher. I can put this one on here. And the cool part about it is, whoops, these have the same diameter. I screwed the thing in too far. Yeah, I'll get it out.
Okay.
Nope, I've done this one before. So all you wind up doing is screwing it in this side first,
Yeah, makes sense.
get it down as flat as you can. Screw it in here.
Say,
And so it's just a different kind of pounding mechanism that you can use on here. But I mean, just the idea of the utility that you can do. And then I love this one. I don't know if you want to talk about this one.
You can talk about it. It's not very tough to talk about. It's basically,
Is this a V-Cert?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Look at it. See. I think it is.
So Ed did one, and obviously a dramatic different style from the one that I did, right? But I'll tell you, that looks really, really cool. And anybody want to guess? It's a V-Cert that goes into it. And then all you do. And so this pounder got a little bit more leverage and a little bit more force on top. But I just love the color in that. Is this one of those?
It's one of the bars that we sell. One of the bars that comes from Europe. Pink zebra. I think it's pink zebra.
Well, if my credit's good, I might want to see. I might want to visit one on the way out. But I don't know what you guys think of that.
Thing is that if it's going into a kitchen, and I look at this stuff as it's pretty expensive for stuff that you're going to put in the kitchen. So I try to make it so that it's something that they might let sit out. And when friends come over, they will comment on it. And so that's what I do to try to come up with something that has a value other than its actual pounding value. In addition, I should say, because yes, obviously it does the job, but you also have other things it becomes part of your decoration in your kitchen.
So there's one thing I want to talk about kind of quickly here. Let's jump back up. I don't know how many people are advocating doing this, but I'm going to tell you this is the way that I do it. We kind of showed you the pepper mills earlier. I think we might actually we should probably do a whole video on pepper mills at some point for YouTube. But here's the pepper mill. And I'll tell you, you have no idea how many people and how many different ways when you YouTube how to get this to match perfectly and how to get this to turn perfectly. My God. As a pen maker, what do we like to use? Bushings, right? So give me a second. These are not intended for this, but I found it, and I think this works phenomenal. So what I'll do is I'll take my piece of wood. I'll drill 1 5/16 of the way in, all the way in about, this is how I measure it. I use the Forstner bit, and this is the head of the Forstner bit.
Okay.
Once I've buried the head of the Forstner bit, I know that I'm down in deep enough. And then this is 1 1/16 inch, 1 1/16 hole, goes all the way through. And then on the top, I use the same Forstner bit, 1 1/16. And then what I'll do is I'll drill an 8 millimeter all the way through to the top. And as I said, I have seen a million different ways of how you turn this and you put this together and you turn it and you dip it in and stuff like that. Well, all I found was that these bushing, whatever, I don't know what this even came from.
So it's a pepper mill, one of the pepper mills from PSI.
Yeah, the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what I do is I'll just put these in here, put this in here. Then when I turn it, I use it on the large pepper mill. I use this as a bushing. I turn down to that bushing. Then what I'll do is I'll put this in here, and then I will use a point center. I assume we've got one right here.
Oh, okay.
On here. And that's how I turn it.
Mhm.
So I got a bushing that gets me down to here. Then I got a bushing that gets me down to here. So as long as I turn to that bushing and I turn this round and I can use this to get the whole thing in here.
Mhm.
I've got a pepper mill that I know will always match together right here because I've done it as a pen. I've used bushings and I've done it as a pen. So I don't, oh, look at this. As I'm talking, I'm seeing that Kevin's saying John has definitely been putting out some great videos. I get no respect. No respect. Everybody likes John. Oh,
That, that's a hint, Mark. We're telling you, you got to start recording again.
I have 28 of them out there. I don't have anyone. I don't know what left to talk about. No, I'm sorry, Kevin. You know that's just having some fun. So I'm glad. I love John. Is working with John all the years that I have. He's a phenomenal demonstrator. So please take that with the humor that's intended. But can you see how easy this is? Now, I just simply take this, and then the cool part about it is to get these little bit. This would take a lot of skill to get these little dimples in here. What I do is I use the Easy Wood tool with the round cutter in there, and I'll cut one in, move it over, cut one in, cut it in on each side, and I get just enough of a little bit of an accent in here. To the people that you give this to, they have no idea how much skill this took, whether you were doing this with a skew and you rounded it over and you bent it over and stuff like that. Just a really simple technique. And I think it just, you may like it or not, but I think it does wonders on Spectraply. I mean, it just draws your eye right into it. And so that's why I do it on Spectraply. When I did it on the more, if you will, traditional mill, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Especially on something like this, only because it's the science behind it, right? Is that as that thing goes in, it's going to come darker, and I don't want to play with shadows and stuff like that. So that's just my 2 cents in how I make these. I was going to turn one of these, but I don't think I'm going to have time tonight. But I think you guys get the concept, right? I'm going to put this in. I'm going to use these as bushings. I'm going to pop the bushing out. I'm going to put this in here, pop it in. I'm going to use my point center on this side, turn it here, and I've got a perfect pepper mill that I didn't have to, there's not a lot of science to it. It's just simply using bushings like all us good pen turners do. So I got a couple more things that we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to leave it open for some questions, if anybody has. Dawn just gave me this the last time I was out here. I think this is one of the cooler things out here now. It's a nutmegger. And what you do is you pull it up, you put your nutmeg in there, close it, and when you grind, it grinds it. And you get a nice little nutmeg grind on it. Obviously, to me, I wanted to do it in brown because nutmeg is brown. But you can imagine that this is just something that looks really cool in your kitchen. So if you've got a ton of pen blanks sitting around your place, coffee scoops. This is one of John's blanks. And you can see here, if you look real close, same pattern I do on all the other one. I just give it a little something to look at here, where I dip it in here. But this is just a closed end pen. And now it's just it's a coffee scoop that I do that way. What else do I got? Oh, this one is a nutcracker.
This is another case of it came from China. You are suspicious of the quality. This is a very well put together piece. I goofed around with it for some time before we actually started to take it. And it is very well put together. So, yeah, there's, again, some of the stuff is quite good. And that is one of the things that's quite good.
But the takeaway is 2 pen blanks.
Yeah.
That's all I did. So this is 2 pen blanks. This one's a pen blank. All I'm doing is using pen blanks. I just got this, as I tell people, I don't drink, but you showed me this last time, and I thought, boy, this would be kind of fun. It's a wine bottle opener, corker, and it's just a pen blank. And this is just scraps of something that when I turned it, I had these little chunks. I don't know about you guys in your house, but nothing gets thrown away in my house. There's just boxes on boxes and boxes in my house of different size scraps. And so this one was just done with scraps. And that's, because you want to say, well, would you cast half wood, half acrylic just for something that small? The answer is no. But you know what? If I can take a scrap and make it out of that, I think that looked great. Other scraps that I had here. If you want to get the kids into turning, this one's done out of a scrap, and this is a magic eye. You can look in here when you spin this. It will change colors, and you'll get the diamond effects and things like that. Just a simple little thing. Go ahead, Dean.
That must be an Illinois thing. We call those kaleidoscopes.
Yeah, there you go. Here's another version of the kaleidoscope, but this was the steampunk one. And you can see what's the point to it. It's a really beautiful half wood, half piece of acrylic that would have gotten thrown out in the garbage, but it was done with a pepper mill that I made, and I cast my pepper mills. Oh, one thing I want to talk about. Let me jump back to that on the pepper mill. I cast my pepper mills, and I just have these scraps. When I put my pepper mill together, I do want to talk about this. There's a lot of science behind how to get this to match up and how to get the perfect top on here. I will tell you this. And Ed, you pointed this out earlier. I always buy the 12-inch mechanism for this. Even if this blank is not 12 inches, I'm going to do something that's smaller, that's 8 inches. Or you can see here, this one's the same thing. It's the 12-inch mechanism. But you can see here, this one is much bigger. So what I'll do is, when I get it, I will put the rod through it, and then I will hold it in. I'll take a little bit of a marker. I'll mark where the top is here, and then I'll mark from there. I'll measure from there to the first thread on the pepper mill, and then cut that off the bottom and peen it. And that's all I'm going to do. One other thing that I'll do on here, as I said, and this is really important to me, is, and I brought this up, I just want to hammer it home, is I do use the inserts in here. The reason that I use these inserts more than anything is, on this one, it doesn't make as big a difference as it does on some of the other ones. But if I'm doing one of the ones that are half wood, half acrylic, and I've got, or even an all wood pepper mill, I'm going to lose grain. And I'm going to get a grain mismatch in here if I turn that little stem that goes in, right? Most of the time they tell you cut the stem goes from here into here, about a half of an inch on the stem that you're going to have there, but that's going to lose me some grain, and I'm going to be mismatched. If I take this one and I just cut it completely here, and I use that little bit of that 3D insert that I have, and I use that, two things about it. A, I don't have to ever worry about losing grain, and those little silver things that are the clip that this thing goes into. I've seen people who don't recess it in, and I've seen people who recess it in. I'll show you what I mean. So I've got this one here. And if I was to use that little bit of a metal clip in here, that retaining clip that has the square in it, a pro would cut this out, would take a skew and cut this out so that fits in there perfectly, so that when I look at it on the side, you wouldn't notice it. I don't have to worry about that on there. Because if I use that 3D printed one, it's a square all the way through, and I don't have to worry about it. That's just a little tip or something that I do. I don't expect everybody to follow it, but it's just something I do. So I was going to take a few minutes and actually do some turning, but we really only have about 5-10 minutes left. So I would rather just take some time and call Ed back up here. I think I've covered everything I want to cover. Oh, I got two more things. Here's another little scrap, right? And this is a pen blank. And so this is, I don't know what they call these things. Is this, people who do those beads, those bead art. So this is just a pen blank. And I turned it to do bead art on here. So that's that one. This one I think is really cool. This is a crochet set. And I 3D printed some brackets that go into this nice little box. But you can see here, it's just a pen blank. And so I've got that one as a pen blank. And if you like the high-end crochet set,
Yeah, Kevin says they're called diamond paint pens. I don't know what you call
Diamond-
them. I didn't catch what you
no,
call them.
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, they're diamond paint pens. Correct.
And so this one's another one. It's the crochet set. And it's just a little scrap piece of Alumilite that I had left over. And so if you come to my house, you will see literally 30-gallon tubs all over the place of Spectraply, half wood. Let me pull the camera back up. Of Spectraply, of half wood, half acrylic, of woods from all over the world, of pen blanks. I don't throw any of it away. And most of the stuff you saw here tonight, it's theme and variation, right? It's a lot of this stuff is done with scraps of stuff that I did for something else. Even these bigger things, like the nutmegger, that's the scrap left over from a pepper mill that I made out of this. And so, anybody have any questions? Ed, do you want to jump up here?
Sure.
Any questions, comments about anything that we took? So TCB said, haha, same here. I hope that means that you love to use all the scraps that you have also. So thank you.
No, no. TBC same here was picking on you for your magic eye. That was.
Oh, okay. Oh, so he's knocking me for.
he was agreeing with my kaleidoscope comment there on that one.
All right. So on one comment below, so I can't see whatever the last comment is.
So I'm hoping Harold's got a typo because I don't quite understand the comment because it says made a few of those crochet hooks. People dog them. I don't know if that was a autocorrect that was love them, but Harold
We
helped.
sell a lot of them.
Dig them, dig them.
Dig them. Bing bang.
Well,
Okay.
wait, let's let him ask what he thinks.
Yes, Kevin says dig them too. Wait, Carol.
Oh,
we're all
you know
digging.
what else?
And Harold said dig. Yes, dig them. So it was a
You know what
different-
else? Sorry, what else? Sorry, real quick when we're talking about digging dog while I'm thinking of it. There's a dog grooming kit, and I don't have it here, but it takes a small little strap handle. My God, is that kind of cool? And if you get into casting, envision taking something, casting a picture of the dog in the handle, and the way you go with it.
Do we want to do the whole third giveaway done?
Oh yeah, we got one more giveaway.
Stupid auto incorrect. I love that. I've never heard that before. Okay, the last giveaway, third giveaway is going to be, since nobody got to hear my joke about the storm being between the fact that it was Racine to Brown County that had a storm, which I picked that one. For the last one, type thanks into the chat. So thanks for being here and thanks for everybody presenting.
So while you're doing that, we can. We'll also be looking for. Oh yeah, I've done seam rippers. Yeah, seam rippers are always a good one. Here's the joke, George, is when I have them at art shows, I always tell people I don't need a seam ripper. I'm more of a natural seam ripper, if you know what I mean. So I use that joke a lot, but seam rippers are always real popular. And because she's not on, I can tell you the truth. I don't make any of them. My wife loves to make the seam rippers, and she makes all the seam rippers.
Mark, is one of the things that you turned, is that a companion to that same blank we're giving away?
One of the things that you turn. In other words, is there another one like this that you use for something that you did with?
A handle?
Hmm?
Didn't you turn a handle out of one of those blanks?
Oh, well, this one, but I had done that a long time ago.
Okay,
Okay.
I just thought they could see it turned.
Oh, sorry, were you thinking giving away or just seeing?
No, just seeing it.
Oh, yeah. If you want to see what this one looks like, it's not exactly the same, but. And once again, as I would point out, drill from this side because then you're going to hide your knurl nut or that V-cert in it that way. That's the way I hide it there.
By the way, if you haven't caught it, B-Cert is the product number. It's actually the letter B-S-E-R-T. So if you're listening to this and saying, what the heck are they talking about? It's actually PK B-Cert. and that's Penn State's number for it. And that's the number you can order on Exotics by. The other thing with the things that Mark has presented tonight, he looks for the products that will fit the B-cert.
Yep.
B-cert is a 3/8 inch thread, and it is very common, but it is not universal. So please don't order 30 of something thinking it's going to work. Order one, make sure that it actually is a 3/8. The other one that's common in the industry is a 5/16. 5/16 won't work in the 3/8 inch B-cert, and there is no insert for the 5/16 that I'm aware of. So be a little alert to what you're ordering so that you don't get a whole bunch of something and then find out you want to return it, which is fine. We take them back, but it's a pain in your neck and ours.
And whatever you do, don't say Mark said.
Yeah.
I don't want Ed and Don to fire me.
Yeah, right.
Hey, while
We couldn't lose that big paycheck every month.
Dean is still doing the thanks, put in the comments if you're planning on going to the AAW up there. We'd love to meet you, John, myself, Ed, and Don. And I hear that there's going to be another special guest in the Exotic Boots flank up in Minneapolis. Dean will be up there.
Dean's just running away from his day job is what's happening. It gave me a really good excuse to make a long weekend and get the heck out of there.
Well, I don't know that it's ever been closer to you guys up here. Right? What is it from here? A 4-hour drive? 3-hour drive?
Yeah, it's about 4 from Green Bay. It's about 5 from Racine.
That's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think it's 5.5 from my house.
My son,
Okay.
just made that trip and got rear-ended, so.
Oh, that's no good.
One other thing that I didn't tell Mark I was going to do this, so I apologize a bit. When you're looking at, on the camera too, please. Thank you. When you're looking at trying to do that, that measuring and find out if you've got a 12-inch rod and you want it to be less than that because your pepper mill is less than that, the way you talked about is absolutely true. It requires some brains to be able to figure out how far it goes and all the rest of that, and it will work perfectly. The way I do it doesn't require any brains. I instead take that post, hang it in here just like it is, and it will then stick out at this end, whatever amount it's too long. Take a dry marker, of course this is not in there at this point, take a marker and just mark the rod, and then cut it off. Then peen over that rod, which he's going to do too. Same process. The difference is how to measure it. And to me, the easiest way in the world is
No, that's
mark on it, that's done.
Let me say this though. One thing, if you're gonna peen it over, I always make sure I put the screw back on top of it as I'm holding it down. So when I'm peening it, I'm not damaging the threads.
Yep.
Actually, what I do is I've got an extra one of these, and I always use that one so that when I'm peening it over, I'm always making sure that I'm peening it over and not using it.
The rods that are in there are not as difficult. They're aluminum, and so it's not hard to knock them over. I used to have the edge of my workbench at home. I have a good sized vise, and that will work too. Essentially, you just want to make sure that you can knock over the sides of it so that it holds the cutting device. So it's not difficult, and it absolutely is much easier than trying to make your pen mill or your pepper mill match the length of your rod. I did that for years before I finally realized, hold it, the rod is changeable.
Yeah.
Why am I goofing around trying to get this thing to fit right when the rod is changeable? And of course, the other thing is that you get it to the point where you think you've got it just the right length, everything's going to be fine. You're turning this top to make the final pieces of it, and you have a slide with one of your tools and it puts a gouge all the way down it. Now you have to change the length of that so that you can get rid of the gouge, and everything that you did to try to get it right is going to go to heck in a handbasket. So all this stuff contributes to why do you make the rod fit the mechanism? Because it's easier.
It is.
So that's the end of that. Who'd we give away to?
Well, hopefully all those techniques, hopefully the last 2 hours have been why we do things a little, to me, they're easier the way that I do the peppermill and everything else. Using the B-cert on everything makes all this easier.
And suddenly I see John Underhill. Hello.
John is poked in. Kevin won the last drawing, so
Congratulations,
Well,
Robin.
worked out nice. Kevin's been our chattiest guy tonight, keeping me awake a little bit over here.
Wow, does that hurt? Wow, talk about an underhanded comment. Wow.
Had to say it, and yes, John has shown up. He poked in.
Oh, John is here.
See what you missed. You were complaining about Kevin commenting about John's videos, Mark. You missed the fact that I promoted both of your videos, but then I did make a comment that John's got some brand new ones that are pretty darn good out there.
Yes, he does.
You know, the only good thing is, I've got an hour and a half drive home, and I will be calling John on the way home, and he will talk me home for an hour and a half. So did we cover everything that you guys wanted in the last 2 hours?
Any last questions out there?
Can I ask if not, please? And then the other thing is, please send an email to sales@exoticblanks.com with ideas for topics you'd like to see us cover. I say it every month. Even if it's not something that Ed, myself, or John are known for, we know a lot of people, and we can always bring in people to help us with this.
TBC says he's going to try and make some inserts for shift knobs. Granted, that's a completely different size than the B-certs. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I agree. That would be cool.
Mhm. Okay. Well, we, of course, thank you all for coming. And I have taken under advisement, as the saying goes, the fact that I should make sure that I send out an email to remind people. We will do that in the future. But meanwhile, it's absolutely true. If you have anything that you would like to see us do or see demonstrated, we are certainly willing to do it. We have the lathe sitting here idle with generally 3 guys that have a pretty good idea of how to use it. So we'd be thrilled to death to take care of any questions you have and try to keep up to the things that are new. I get a YouTube notification when you guys go live. That's the truth. I didn't think about that. But yeah, if you're subscribed to our live broadcast, you would get the notification anyway. So.
No, I think it was a great comment.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
it probably would help.
Reminding me to hit one more like and subscribe reminder before we go.
So, and one last thing is, as we said, jump out to Minneapolis if you get a chance. Stop by and see all of us. We're always looking to chat with people and have some fun.
It's not a huge show either. If you're going, I mean, as far as you look at it and say, oh, that's going to be a great big thing in a convention center and all the rest of that, it isn't all that large.
It's
So
about 1,200 people.
1,200 attendees, but
Yes.
I mean, your vendor area is not huge.
No, it's decent, but the nice thing about it is, maybe this is where you were going. When you're in the room, there's no bad seat. You can come and watch a lot of it.
Yeah. You can have a good time there, and people are down there.
And you can come volunteer in my area where I'm going to be looking to help people turn pens.
The other thing I noticed that you may be interested in, it shows some demonstrators from Europe. And I thought, boy, that's really amazing that they paid for somebody to come to Europe. After you read it a little more carefully, they're doing that by internet.
No. They're coming in.
I don't
And you
think
could-
so.
You can get the rest. There's a part at the end where you can get some of their demos on the internet.
Okay, but you think they're really going to be
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Okay. Mark would know.
Unless I missed it, I'm pretty positive they were
Okay.
there. Unless there was something recently that came
No,
out. Maybe
that's
you're right. And I'll apologize
Right.
if I'm.
In any event, look at the information you get, and then you'll know for sure. So one way or another, it's a beautiful show.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good presenters there. A lot of good presenters. So,
Well, I know at least 2.
which would be John and Mark.
No, John and some other guy.
Funny.
Okay, we're just
All right.
about everybody to go home anyway. So thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Dean. As always, we appreciate your help in the background. And Nice to see you, John. Good. Everybody have a great night. Thank you for coming.
Night all.
Bye-bye.